So it's been months, and I still haven't watched the finale of Winning Time because I was a little upset it was the finale. I usually waited until the episode was done and I watched it, and they canceled it as soon as it was over, and I was like, hell no. Nah. But I thought today, while I was considering watching it, which I still haven't, and I'm gonna ask you this question: what's a team in NBA history that you wish they made a Winning Time type show for?
For me, it's got to be the We Believe Warriors team.
Oh, oh yeah. First thing that came to mind was Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes.
Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, Jay Rich, Baron Davis, Al
Monte Ellis was on
Harrington,
that
like
team.
Monte Ellis was on that team. Like, just to me, just the craziness of that team. The few, the stories I've heard from, Steven and Matt Barnes talking about like they wish they could have a documentary. Like, I agree with them. Like, that would have just been just a hectic team coming off of like just beating a team that just made the finals as an A seed, or as they were sub 500 that year. But like, just that entire, like, all the personas, the personalities, the egos, like, even if they were young men, like that makes me just, I don't know, I feel like that would be the funniest, most just unique basketball documentary I could think of.
Yeah, it was a wild ass roster, and the coach himself. Like, there's stories about Don Nelson inviting him over to smoke weed, all kinds of shit. So 100%. But my answer is the early 2000s Portland Trailblazers, and I had to pull some stuff up because I knew about this team, just kind of remembering the stories about the arrest and all that, but I didn't have the full detail, and so I decided to look it up today. So I'm gonna just give you most of the stuff that happened. So first of all, where is it? So in 2001, Sean Kemp left the team early to go to rehab for cocaine. All right. 2002, Zach Randolph, because remember he was very young. He got arrested for underage drinking. Then Rasheed Wallace and Damon Stoudemire got caught with weed. That's also 2002. A couple months after Zach Randolph got arrested. Ruben Patterson, I don't want them to show that. That was a domestic thing. They can skip that part of it, but that was within the same time frame. In 2003, though, Zach Randolph punched Ruben Patterson in the face in practice. In 2004, Damon Stoudemire got caught with weed in the airport in aluminum foil. I don't know what he thought that was going to cover up.
Aluminum, man.
I don't even know if you could take aluminum foil on a plane. And this is after
I was about to say, I think he could have had nothing in there. He could have had like a Snickers bar and they would have taken that away from him. Like, that's crazy.
And then let's see. And then the 04-05 season, Kentel Woods got caught with weed. And then Mo Cheeks got fired after Bonzi Wells and Darius Miles both teamed up and cussed him out. This is all a 3 or 4 year span. And the team was good. That's the best part about it. That's the same team that was battling the Lakers in the playoffs. And so 100%, if we could get like a raw, uncut show or even documentary about that team, I would not ever miss an episode. Because it seems like, because all this stuff happened like within like 2 months of each other. Just back to back to back. And it was going out winning playoff games. So
that just goes to show the talent that was on that team and the amount of like knuckleheads at the same time, or just people not giving a fuck. I don't even want to call them knuckleheads because they just got caught doing it. But it's just that'd make a wild TV series or doc series.
So the more I think about it, the more I understand we need some more stuff on that team, because that's just fucking wild. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 6 of Playoff File. I'm Kenny. You got no Frankie today. Got Lou with me though. Lou, how you doing?
Oh man, another great day, man. Another great day to talk some hoops.
Yeah, for sure. So once again, before we get started with the show, make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you're the part of audio audience, make sure you follow the show, whether that's on Apple or Spotify. Just make sure you're tuned in and locked in with us. But first things first, we got the news a couple hours ago. Draymond Green is suspended indefinitely. I got my thoughts on Draymond, but I'm gonna go to you first on this.
First of all, I don't know, man. We talked about a series on a team. I'd like a docu-series on Draymond Green. What goes on in his head? Just some of the things he does, like some of the ways, like I just genuinely, I don't know. It's crazy. He's like, he leaves me speechless. Like, I genuinely don't know what he did, why he did it, for what reason he did it. The indefinite suspension is interesting. I didn't think it was going to be indefinite. It doesn't sound long, but it's just, to be decided essentially.
Yeah.
Like we'll figure it out. I feel like just him. I don't know what's going on with Draymond. Like, that's basically my point, man. Like, I'm genuinely curious I would like to see him behind the scenes, like somebody talking to him, like, why'd you do that? Like, I want to be in the locker room is my point. Like, I would like to be a fly on the wall when Draymond is like, telling Steph or telling Steve Kerr or anybody like, yeah, man, I did it because, I thought I had this and this, or no, I don't know. I really fucked up, I guess. Like, I just want to see his reaction because the play was insane. He damn near, he thought that was Jordan Poole or something, man. I don't know what he did to Nurkic.
So here's the wildest part about you wanting to see like a docuseries on Draymond. About a year ago, Amazon did put one out. And not only are they going into like the background of who he is and why he is the way he is, they have him speaking to mental wellness experts about like these things. So it's not like it's not like they haven't tried this stuff before. It's just like he is a crazy individual. But unfortunately, like aside from like obviously punching people in the face in the game and in practice, there's a long history of great defenders just being psychopaths. And so I can't really take too much away from it. Whether you're talking Dennis Rodman, whether you're talking Ron Artest, the list goes on and on. I don't really want to name them all. So what's unfortunate is the way he is kind of makes him the player he is. And we understand the offensive stuff, like he's kind of fun to laugh at times on offense with him not scoring. But when you see him on the defensive end, you know what his IQ is, even though he makes weird decisions sometimes. It's I think I've finally reached the point where I can't make excuses for him anymore because I love Draymond as a player. I'm going to be honest with you. But even with the Jordan Poole stuff, I was like, all right, but common sense kind of tells you don't push somebody and put your hands down, whatever. Now there's just nothing. I have nothing left. Like I used to believe him when he said he just flailed his body that way, but there's no player who's that smart, especially defensively, that doesn't know where everybody is at all times and how you shouldn't move in certain situations. And he just turned around and clocked Nurkic.
It's unfortunate because I feel like this season has been one of his better seasons when he's fucking played. like this is his, I know we were talking about his defense. His defense, it's not the same tier of elite it used to be. It's still very, 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 very good. Mm-hmm. But it's just offensively, he was, basically a non-factor some games, or, if it wasn't for his passing. But this year he's willing to shoot more. He's shooting more. He's shooting better. The playmaking is still there. The defensive leadership is still there. But then, like, how much of a leader can he be when he does shit like this sometimes? Like, it baffles me, and I'm pretty sure we'll talk about the Golden State team at some point because, man, I don't know what's going on just with him. With the baffled, fucking befuddled.
And they've been struggling too. And he missed the time already with the Rudy Gobert thing, which was funny. I can't lie. Part of it because it was Rudy Gobert. But but at the same time, like, he got 5 games for that. And I do understand why it's indefinite this time because he just keeps doing stuff over and over again. It was the kicking people years ago. It's the Rudy Gobert thing. It's the Jordan Poole thing. And it's all kind of gone relatively unchecked in comparison to what the NBA usually does with violent outbursts and things like that. And I think now, unfortunately, because, again, I love Draymond as a player, I can't blame the NBA for suspending him indefinitely, not even knowing how long indefinitely is going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is like their way of like telling him like, yo, you got to chill out.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't 2 games, it wasn't 3 games, it wasn't 5 games. It was like, we got to talk to you. Like we got to bring
Yeah.
you in. It's it's for a different reason than John Morant, but we got to talk to this player, man, because at some point we don't know what he's doing anymore. Like I I don't know. I hope he's okay. I hope he just goes back out there and plays ball, man, because he is a very when he first came onto the scene, I was a hater. I'm not gonna lie. I hated Draymond Green. I hated how I thought, the success was built around the players around him, and he was just an extra piece. And boy, was I wrong. The more I watched him, I was like, I can't be a hater. Like, this is the type of player I love. And he just doesn't let people who enjoy him watch him because he's always doing other shit sometimes, man. Unfortunately.
And he understands how important he is to the team. And that's what really confuses me about the decisions he makes sometimes. Because even though the Warriors have been struggling this season, you can't expect Klay Thompson to keep shooting like that. And at some point, they were bound to start picking things up. But if Adam Silver decides, you know what, Draymond needs to sit down for the rest of the year, that team's done with, at least for the year. Because as much as Draymond may not score, even though he has been doing that more this year, he is that team's heart and soul, and he has been the whole time. And so without him being able to grab the board and go and have these shooters on the wing, and obviously Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time, arguably the greatest point guard of all time. Klay Thompson, obviously the best catch and shoot player of all time. But that offense without him gets a little tricky because he is the hub. He is everything goes through him. Those guys are coming off of him, coming off his handoffs, coming off of his everything. And so without that, it just makes it tough. And then not to mention the defensive aspect of it.
Yep.
And so he just has to be a little more responsible. I'm not saying he should tame his personality completely and just be Tim Duncan out there.
No, not at all.
Get in people's faces, talking trash, do all that stuff. But as far as like swinging on people, like your team can't afford that, especially with your style of play. You're going to get tangled up with people. You just have to get in their heads, not fucking punch them in the heads.
Yeah, there's an NBA record that will never be broken just because the way the rules are, which is technical fouls in a year. Because you get suspended after 16 for every tech you get suspended a game. So it's literally impossible to break Rasheed Wallace's record. But if the NBA didn't cap that right there, man, he would give him a run for his money. Just if you count techs and flagrants and this and that, like he's up there every year. At some point, it's I feel like you look to him to, like you said, to be a leader, to be the heart and soul. And if your heart and soul is this out of whack, along with, another piece of that core nucleus, Klay looking like that and stuff like that, like the team just feels like it's crumbling. And I don't want to say it's all on Draymond, all on Klay, but like it's on these guys to like, look in the mirror and be like, I got to be better for this team to be better, whether that's on the court or personality wise, responsibility wise. Holding people accountable, people holding him accountable. He needs to be somebody. Draymond keeps everybody in check. Who's keeping Draymond in check? Please, was it Jordan Poole? I know it wasn't. I'm just bullshitting. But like somebody has to like put their foot down, and be like, Draymond, like, yo, we need you. You got to chill out. Like, do what you got to do before the game. Meditate. I don't know what you got to do to get your mind right, but we need you to play. How many games is there left? Like 55? We need you to play 55 of them because we don't know how far we'll make it without you. We don't even know if we'll make it without you.
I don't think there's anybody over there who's going to check Draymond. They used to have Woody Green. And
you think Chris Paul is going to do it?
Nah. I think Chris Paul is kind of like too hated in a sense. And especially like they had that rivalry. I think Chris Paul is still probably trying to find his own spot there. He's not going to change his personality. He's still Chris Paul. He's still going to be on people, but I don't know if he's going to really like check Draymond effectively. But it is interesting you brought up Rasheed Wallace because I found out today Draymond actually is, I want to say, 10 ejections away from breaking Rasheed Wallace's ejection record. So there is something there.
There you go. I'm telling you, Draymond played If we can take Draymond and put him on that Jailblazers team, oh my goodness.
Up next, we have the New Orleans Pelicans. Average team right now. They're another team that, like, I look at their roster and I don't see a lack of talent at all. But there is something obviously missing. Now, they have had health issues and guys are coming back. Trey Murphy came back recently. CJ McCollum missed part of the season. Draymond's been not Draymond. Zion's been healthy, so that's great. But you've watched this team a decent amount this season. So what have you seen from them?
Kind of like what you said. Like, I feel like I haven't really gotten like a full sample size of what this team can be. Last year when they were healthy, they were the number 1 seed, and they still show glimpses of this. Like, they're still very, like, they just, I don't know, man. They're a super intriguing team. I don't think they're perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they have, I believe, like 7 players scoring over 11 points a game. Now with Trey Murphy coming back too, he's been like an answer to their prayers at the wing position, because he's probably the best shooter that they have, and he can put the ball on the deck, and he can create for himself, and he can pass, and he can space ridiculously far. It's just the team right now. It's super. I feel like it's personally, I think this is the most intriguing team on the West. Yeah, like they probably have the highest probability of just like they have like the highest range of probability. Like I wouldn't be shocked if this team is making a deep playoff push, and I also wouldn't be shocked if this team is nowhere to be seen come late April. Like it because of health reasons, and I think if they're healthy, they're in. Like I truly. Zion and Brandon Ingram, which a lot of people just tend to like not, are they going to work? Are they not? Like they're working this year. Like in the possessions that they're on the floor together, they have one of the best offensive ratings in basketball. They're +5 net rating. Like they're fine when they're together. Like they're really, really good when they're together. It's just how long can they be together? Can they keep this up? And can they? When CJ comes back, it's crazy because when CJ plays, their net rating plummets. When it's all 3 of them on the court, they're not really that good. But part of that is maybe too many mouths to feed. I'm just curious, like, what are your overall feels? Just specifically, I kind of want to tailor this a little more specifically to the fit amongst those 3. Their 3 most paid players or whatever.
And so it's interesting you brought up CJ because he's come back and he's played pretty well from what I've seen. But at the same time, you are right. It is a bit of a fit thing because they can all play make, and that's great. But they all kind of are better off with the ball. And I'm not one of those people who are like, there's one basketball it's not going to work, but they have to figure out a way to make it work. They have Brandon Ingram. Obviously, with the mid-range game, you got Zion just getting to the paint whenever he wants, finishing at a ridiculously efficient clip. And you have CJ creating for himself and at times others. But it's just, I don't know if that team has enough spacing also because you have Jonas Valanciunas who can knock threes down, but he's not somebody whose defenses are going to really be afraid of from back there. And so that's kind of getting in Zion's way. And then Brandon Ingram's not shooting that well from 3. So he's only really been having to be worried about from mid-range to the paint. And so that's kind of tough. And it's tough for CJ to get in there with his floaters and all that. And so I'm not saying they need to make a move. And they did, I believe, draft the right person in Jordan Hawkins, who I'm sure you have stuff about.
Perfect.
But I don't know if he's been, at least at this point, consistent enough to really help out with that spacing. Now, Trey Murphy is going to help a lot, but he just got back. But Jordan Hawkins has been I'd say 4th or 5th, because Brandon Miller kind of came on lately. So 4th or 5th best rookie in the class, and you are the draft guy. So I want to hear kind of what you saw in him.
So he was a specialist. Like coming out, like it was very, very fucking clear. Like, if you need a shooter, insert Jordan Hawkins. We talked about their struggle spacing the floor.
Mhm.
What, like, literally when they drafted him, I was like, it's a perfect fit. Like, that is exactly who they should have got, and they got him. There's some defensive questions there,
Mhm.
and some like just general finishing questions. Like the rest of his game needs to be rounded out, but I do think this team has allowed him to just be himself. I think it's been interesting since Murphy's came back and they have gotten
Mhm.
healthier. He's kind of been phased completely out of the rotation. I don't expect that to remain the case. I do think they need to find a way to play their shooters together and their defense not suffer, because
Yeah.
I've just Jordan Hawkins spacing along with Bam Zion's fit at the five. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I say it's funny because the way I think of Zion is like I believe Zion's a center. I believe
Yeah.
he should be playing center.
Mhm.
I don't think that means he should be the tallest player on the court by any means. I just think his offensive role is being a
Yeah.
hub offensively, very
Mhm.
much like Sabonis is, like the Jokic's of the world, like the
Mhm.
Bams. Obviously, nowhere near the same play style. I just want them to operate in the same areas of the floor, if
Yeah.
that makes any sense. And I think Hawkins allows Zion to be free. Trey Murphy allows Zion to be freer. And it's just all these little things that, like, if this team can gel it out, man, this team is going to be, they're going to be good, man. They're going to be a
Yeah. And
very good team.
I'm glad you brought up the defense too, because that's also where I have some questions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Herb Jones, I said on last episode, he is
Shit.
there's not even words to describe how good he is defensively. But after that, him and Trey Murphy, there's kind of a drop off, and Brandon Ingram
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, but the drop off after those players is significant. Zion, and to talk about his weight, that's fine. That's not why he's a bad defender. I said the last episode. He's just not a good
Yeah.
defender, just straight up.
I want to ask you, how do you, because I don't think we've ever discussed this, and this is something that's very frequently discussed on Twitter.
Yeah.
Is how do you feel about Zion at his weight?
I feel like he's been productive enough. He could obviously lose some weight, but
yeah.
And I'm glad, because I was going to bring this up anyway, because I watched them play against the Timberwolves, and that question went away even more for me just watching defenders bounce off of him. And it's I don't know how, like, I understand, like, he's an athlete, he's supposed to have this specific body type, he's supposed to have a six-pack, and his arms and shoulders supposed to bulge out, but just I don't know if he should lose too much weight, because then that takes away his biggest strength, which is I watched him
His frame.
almost cave Naj Reid's chest in on a drive.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about how strong Naj Reid is,
yep.
If Zion loses 15 pounds, Naj Reid wins that battle, and Zion doesn't finish that through the contact. And so I don't know. I really don't know. And especially like his play style, he has to be a heavyweight. He has to, because he's crashing into multiple people and finishing through them. You just can't. And again, I'm not making excuses. Like I said last episode, I'm not making excuses for him. But with his play style, I'm not 100% sure being smaller is the best option for him right now, until he at least gets a jumper and a little more finesse. But right now, he's a bulldozer, and he kind of needs that weight, and he needs the defenders to not be able to do anything about it still when he's going straight at him.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I kind of agree. I wish he would, like, realistically, man. Like, I believe Zion is one of the most dominant players we have seen come out in a long time.
Yeah,
and I know we just had Vic, but I'm talking about, he's a different breed of dominant. His build we had never seen before. It's something which is why I guess some people want him to, like, lose the weight. I do think there is some truth to that. I wish he would just, I don't want to say lose. I would just say cut and like get a little bit more cut while still maintaining his strength. He is ridiculously fucking strong. Like, him and Steven Adams. Like, Steven Adams was like, I'm not even the strongest guy on the team. And then Zion was like laughing, like, he's like, no, you're crazy. And Steven Adams is regarded as like the strongest guy in the league. And Steven Adams is over here saying like, no, I think Zion has me beat, like, realistically. And he was 19 at the time. He wasn't even, he looks about like 15 pounds heavier now, to be honest, which just, even more mass to deal with. He's such a unique player. I do think the body weight, I don't think it's an issue. I don't think it's because he's so fucking dominant. Like he's shooting damn near 60%. And it's not like, he's like people are guarding him past the free throw line. It's like everybody knows where he's going. He just he just doesn't care. Like it doesn't matter. And I wish he would just cut it a little bit. I would like to see him, not for the offensive reasons. I do think when I saw Zion coming out of Duke, I was like, he can be a very good defender. I don't think he can be worldly. I just think he could be a plus defender. Sometimes he shows impacts of that, but I think if he loses his weight, I think his stamina will benefit the most, and I think his all around game will, even if he's probably not as strong. Which I don't know. I don't think the world has seen Zion like lean, so I can't really make that assumption. I can see why you make it. Like I completely get it. Just curious, man. I'm just super curious if he sheds like 10, 15 pounds, where will he be? Because, him and Luka were both kind of similar in that aspects. Like, oh, they don't have an NBA body in that sense. And their shit's working out fine for both of them. But Luka came back leaner this year, and he's a man on fucking mission too. So I just want to see Zion just a little bit, man. Just take it a little bit more serious. He doesn't have to stop eating. Stephen A said all the chefs in New Orleans trying to get a hold of him. I don't think it's that bad. Like, I don't think he's that out of shape. It's just, I wish he just cut it back a little bit, man. Because man, he has special. He's already special. If 10 pounds lighter, like he'll be, like he has generational athlete kind of. In there is what I'm trying to say. And if he can just cut some of it to get to that, like I think it can put this team from a second round team to a conference finals team, from a first round team to the second round team. Like that's how good I think they can be if he's fully fit. Which
and you know what? I'm glad you brought up him at the center, because I hadn't even thought of that. And I think that's just a great idea, not only because of his strength and because of using him as a hub, which is a great idea, but also the vertical spacing he creates is also going to be something for if Brandon Ingram starts to shoot the ball better or like he normally can, and Jordan Hawkins is starting to be more consistent. I think it all relies on Zion. I don't know how much of his weight has to do with it, because also, like you mentioned, it probably does affect his defense a little bit. But if he can commit to defending, and if he can kind of like, if they can run the offense through him some more, I think that's also the solution to that fit. They can run the offense through him. Let Brandon Ingram get his, because he's more of an on-ball scorer. Let CJ get his stuff. But I feel like the main thing should be Zion running the offense, because CJ wasn't a point guard in Portland, and he's had great like games in New Orleans also, but he wasn't originally a point guard. So if you run the ball, if you run the offense through Zion, it's not like CJ's not used to that. And Brandon Ingram played with LeBron, so it's not like he's not used to that. And so they'd be able to figure it out. But right now, it's kind of like Woody Green's kind of like, all right, not your turn, my turn, but it's not like they've made a substantial and definite decision on who's going to run the offense. And I think that's kind of part of what's making them more of an average team.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because I think Zion is a point center. Like ideally, I think that should be his fit. He's a very fucking good passer, considering the spacing issues on that team. Considering, if we're going to talk about one thing that BI doesn't do well is move without the ball. Like that's not his biggest strength. He just doesn't do it at all. But he can, he can space a little bit and shoot. But like, if they can just tweak and figure that out and get to that. Zion also doesn't move very well without the ball either, unless he's in the action primarily. But if both of those players can just somehow like tweak that, I know it sounds crazy, but like these guys lived with their ball, with the ball in their hands their whole career. So this is a completely new thing. And when they're both together, they play well. But then when CJ comes in and it's a third mouth to feed, it's like, now it's kind of back to the your turn, my turn thing. So this team is intriguing. One thing I want to ask you about the team is, how far realistically can you see them going?
Honestly, probably second round. If they get everything together, probably second round. But that's just considering the heavyweights in the West. When you consider if they run into Denver, it's over. If they run into, I have some questions about the Suns still. We'll talk about them later. But if they run into the Suns, it's over. And so it just depends on the matchup they get, because I think they are, I can't even necessarily call them young, but they're playoff inexperienced for the most part. And so I don't know how they would handle that situation. If they run into a team that's just more experienced and may not even be as talented, they could also struggle. Where do you see them going?
It's curious because like theoretically, this is a matchup that I've thought about for a long time. If they play somebody like OKC,
Oh,
that would be that is one of the most interesting matchups I've thought about for a while. But I can, yes, I think second round, like you said, is probably I don't want to say their ceiling. I still think there is like a percentage chance that they can make it to the conference finals. Realistically, I think they're probably a first or second round team, but it's something I've toggled with because it is very matchup dependent. Like we just saw what they did to the Timberwolves. Mm-hmm. You would think that's a team that would give them trouble because of their size, and it was like they gave them trouble because of his size. Yeah, like it was the whole opposite. So it's this is one of those fascinating teams, man. And the NBA, I know every time we talk, like the NBA has the amount of talent in the league is just ridiculous. Yeah. So like the different builds of the teams is truly what makes this fascinating. No team is like the other, and this is an example of that. They're completely unique.
And all the things we mentioned also, and that's what's kind of confusing about them, they're such easy fixes. Or at least they seem that way.
They should be.
Just run it through Zion and have guys kind of do more, because it's not even like they're not good at moving off the ball. They just kind of don't really do it.
They don't so just
implement like, hey, we're running through him. These are the plays. These are the actions. 1, 2, 3, whatever it is, and things could work out. And then there's also the health factor. They have to get together, and so there's a giant like unlockable character shadow and question mark over this team where I just don't know where they're going to end up. But I'm gonna watch a whole lot of it because they're very fucking entertaining.
Yep, especially with Trey Murphy coming back. And shout out to a guy that we really didn't talk about today, but he held the fort down, man. Dyson Daniels has been blowing up actions defensively at the point of attack without Alvarado there for a while.
Yeah, I didn't mention those two as defenders. That's on me. I'm gonna apologize for that right now. You can continue.
Yeah, those two guys just defensively, like this is what I'm saying. The team has the makeup. I think they do have some kind of a question mark at the 5. If they want to go Valanciunas, who's their backup? Are they going to fully trust Zion? I think they should fully trust Zion because I think their wings are big enough to compensate in the rebounding aspect with Zion there. BI is like 6'10", Murphy's like 6'8" with like a crazy wingspan. Same with Herb. Like these guys, I truly feel like this team, the potential, like you said, is untapped. And that's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, and I do want to give a shout out to Jose Alvarado because just watching him also, you're not supposed to be that good of a defender when you're that small. Mm-hmm. You're just not supposed to be. So I want to give him the credit because also, like, if the listeners haven't heard me say it enough, I'm real big on like the history of the game. And he's not as small as Muggsy Bogues, but it is similar to where he's supposed to be at this disadvantage, but he's just so pesky of a defender and his hands are so quick that it just still makes it difficult. And so it reminds me of Muggsy in a sense. And so I just love that. And so I do want to give him a quick shout out before we move on. Last on the list, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, that's also, when you look at that roster, you don't see much of a lack of talent. Well, in spots you do. I'm gonna be honest. In spots you do, in spots you don't. It's
top heavy.
It's a very top heavy team. Thank you. But when you peel the layers back, you start to see why they're not all that good, or at least how as good as they were last season. I'm gonna go to you first on them also, because I have a ton of questions about this team, despite how good their best players are.
It's ironic we're talking about two teams that are both 9th in their respective conference.
Yeah,
wasn't planned, guys, I swear. But Cleveland is unique because I feel like this is the team. Talk about question marks. This is the team of question marks.
Yeah.
Is Garland and Mitchell going to fit? Are Allen and Mobley going to fit? Who should they keep? I feel like that's the constant. Is Mitchell leaving? What are they going to get from him? Like, do people like him enough? Does he make the team better? Which is a ridiculous statement. But like, it's a lot of questions, and this team has been. I feel like they got some of them answered. Which is ironically the guy that they took from Miami. Strus has been sensational for them. He's been their best on and off player by a mile.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm very curious. What do you like? What is the eye test? Because I have some stats on the specifically on Mobley and Allen. Because personally, I feel like that's one of the biggest things with this team is how good are they when they're both on. And you see, from the eye test, I was like, maybe they should keep one, specifically Mobley, and try to see if they can do something else.
Mm-hmm.
What the eye test tells me, what the stats tell me, don't back it up, man. This team is better when they're both on the court, which is crazy. When one of them or the other one is not on the court, they're just not as good. But with they're both on the court, they're +4 net rating, which isn't as good as you'd like them to be. It's still a start considering that they're like, I think they're just about even in their net rating in general. But when Allen is on and Mobley is off, they're -5 and their defense plummets to 120 defensive rating.
Yeah.
This is a guy who gets highly respected. And this isn't I don't want to say it's as much a knock on Jarrett as it is praise for Mobley's defensive ability. Even though the people that they do play for Mobley, I shout out Dean Wade. He's a very mobile player for his size, and he's more than a capable defender, I believe. But it's just the importance of Mobley, because with Mobley's on and Allen is off, they're still a +1.5 ish. Yeah. But it's still like, it's what I'm saying. Like, I felt like it was always one or the other, when like statistically the answers are saying, man, y'all looking at the wrong problem. Like, this isn't the problem. Like, problem's everybody else, everybody else behind them specifically, but them two together are pretty good. Is that how you feel?
So I do have sort of an answer for that, which is, so watching this team play defensively, those two, like, I can't really think of a more defensively dominant power forward and center. Well, maybe in Miami when Hayward, Highsmith, and that's no bias, when Hayward, Highsmith, and Bam were together, maybe. I don't know what the numbers are on that, but those two defensively, you're just not scoring on, and that's with Darius Garland's struggles. Now, I will give credit to Donovan Mitchell. He hasn't been nearly as bad of a defender as he was in Utah, so I give him credit for that, and he also missed time. Max Strus, we saw firsthand, he's not a lockdown defender, but he's a capable defender when he's not like fouling, and like that's an issue. That was an issue last game I watched him play also. So the defense, I think, is why they're so good as far as a number show, because you're just not scoring on those two, hands down. But when they come down on the other end, that's where the issue lies, because neither of them are very good shooters. And then I was looking at the roster today. Aside from Sam Merrill and Craig Porter Jr., who are both currently out of the rotation, the best shooter is Max Strus, and that's at 35.7% from three. And so you can't have two non-shooters and then your best shooter is at 36% pretty much. That's just not gonna work. And then Donovan Mitchell's having a great year, but a lot of it is because he has to have a great year to make up for the lack of offense at times. So for me personally, that team, I don't know if they have to get rid of one or the other. They just probably, if anything, they need better shooting around them. And it's not to take away from Max Strus, because and we'll get to him in a second, because he's doing some stuff he never did in Miami. But it's just they're going to need better, more consistent shooting, because even still on like the shooting aspect, Max is still, you have no idea what you're going to get from him. Is he going to go 8 for 12 or is he going to go 3 for 14? We don't know until we're going to see it. But when the hell did he start initiating pick and rolls successfully?
I was gonna say they are trusting him so much more to play make. Like,
and it's working.
It is working. It's huge credit to Max Strus, because I feel like a lot of people probably turned their heads. Even Heat fans were like, "Damn, they overpaid for him." Which is, I was one of them. I was like, "Damn, I don't know if Strus is worth all that money." Shut me up. I'll be honest. He summed me up.
Yeah.
Is he perfect? No. I do think this is the perfect team for his play style. And vice versa. I think the team found a perfect fit for what they wanted. Like, he is what they wanted. They wanted, like you said, a capable defender. He's a good team defender who can just funnel shit inside and let the two guys that are there for a reason worry about the rest. And then offensively, get streaky enough to help the offense survive from time to time, be a good connective passer. And now, like you said, layering the pick and rolls, his sneaky athleticism, because, you know, every now and then he catches a body. We will talk about that another day, though. But it's like little things that he brings, and just the energy, the attitude. I feel like that's something that goes undervalued, because that, I'm gonna be honest, man, I hate when players say like the lights are too bright. That shit rubs me the wrong way, because I do like Jared Allen, but like as a competitor, man, like that shit, that pisses me the fuck. Like, if he was on my team and he said that, oh no, hell no, man. If we're at the park and they're like, yeah, we got no shot, I'm like, yep, here you go, I'm leaving. Like, there's no point of being there. Like, that's some, I just don't agree with it. But he brings some of that mentality. Like, I mean, we saw what he helped do last year. Like, we've seen what he's helped done before. Like, he's always been an underdog. He has that, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna try. And it's rubbing off on the team in the best way possible, because like it's crazy. The team is 17 points better with Max Strus on the floor than with him off. Like, it's ridiculous.
And one thing I did kind of pick up on earlier in the season, where I was like, what all this pick and roll initiation and all this playmaking and dunking on people? And then I realized, so he became a shooter, quote unquote, even though he never really shot all that well in Miami. He shot well enough sometimes, to be honest, to just play that role and make it to the league. But in college, that wasn't who he was. Did you ever see him in college?
Yeah, he played like power forward, small forward, power forward, and he was like mid post hunting and getting high screen pick and rolls. And he was just, Max Strus was a hooper, man. Like he was just filling a role. You know, sometimes you got to be good at a role to be able to get minutes, and then, you know, as you're good at the role, your role expands.
Yeah.
And in due time, that's what happened.
And credit to JB Bickerstaff. We talk about coaches a lot on here, which I actually like. I'm gonna be honest with you. Credit to JB Bickerstaff for letting him kind of expand and do those things he has a skill set for, because sometimes you get caught up in watching what a player does on the floor and just kind of assume they can't do other stuff. And I also got, even though I'd kind of been familiar with Max Strus's college game, I kind of got caught up in that, just watching him take a bunch of threes in Miami, coming off pin downs and all kinds of stuff. Just credit to JB Bickerstaff for not being like, hey, they paid you to be a shooter, shoot it. Yep. I want to give him credit for that.
Absolutely.
And now, I watched them play their most recent game against the Celtics, and I didn't see Craig Porter Jr. get into the game. And I think that's a mistake.
Such a mistake, man. Just generally, like, we know, like, the identity of this team has to be defensively. We talked about their spacing concerns. You talked about their 3-point shooting concerns. Like, Craig Porter Jr., like,
he's the second best 3-point shooter after Sam Merrill.
It's funny because he doesn't even shoot, but like that much. But like, his whole identity, even when he was coming out of college, was he was the best shot blocking guard in the nation.
Yeah.
Like, when I saw him, I typically don't watch like guys with like late second round grades sometimes or undrafted, but I came across him because he brought him in for a workout. So, you know, I watch everybody that he bring in for a workout just in case. And I watched him and I was like, this guy's going to be undrafted. Like I've seen some guys project in the first round. I'm not going to get to, but worse than him. And I was like generally he has an NBA ready skill set. He can navigate screens. He can guard up at the point guard position, even though I think he's more of like a 2-ish than a 1, but that's neither here nor there. Like, he's a combo guard who can guard 1s and 2s and some 3s. He's disruptive and he plays to his own pace offensively, and he dictates the pace the offensive player plays with defensively. Certain things you can't teach. We talked about great defenders. I feel like that is a characteristic that you can't teach, is controlling pace of the game, even on defense. And for somebody this young, like, he should definitely be getting minutes. I don't see any other person on this team at the backup 1 spot, period. Like, it should just be him. Like, Darius Garland plays 34 minutes a game. Darius Garland's playing like 33, 34, 35 minutes a game. the rest of those 14 minutes should be Craig Porter Jr. And he should still be in there when, insert Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland comes out. Like, he should be there alongside Donovan Mitchell for at least 5-6 minutes. Like, he should be getting around 20-ish minutes a game. And I wish they would just let him play because he fits your identity. So many, the best teams in the league, man, you know what they don't have? They don't have identity crisis. I feel like this team is going through identity crisis every time I watch them play. Like, they want to be offensive because, they got these two-headed guards, which we got to talk about because they're special. Yeah. And then on the other side, they have this two-headed defense, and it's like, where do we want to be? They have to decide. And some of that starts with, we talked about the team being, I mentioned the team being top-heavy. You agreed. Give some of these guys a shot. Like, I feel like him and Okoro should be playing a lot more because they help create an identity. Your bench unit needs to have an identity as well. And these two guys just emphasize that as opposed to trying to oh, we have this guy who can kind of do this. No discredit to Sam Merrill. I'm pretty sure his shooting is needed. But I don't know, fully commit to what you want to do because their defense, while it hasn't been as elite as it was last year because they aren't winning as many games, it's still been fucking spectacular. Just, I don't know.
And I 100% agree with you there because defensively, there are questions, even still with Donovan Mitchell being improved defensively. I can't even say improved because he was a defender in college. I'm not sure what happened in Utah, but with him playing well defensively, there's still a lot of questions for Darius Garland on that end. So I don't really understand why you wouldn't have Craig Porter Jr. sometimes next to him. Donovan Mitchell's out. Just play him next to Garland. Just make things – because I understand you have these incredible interior defenders in Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, who's not just an interior defender, but he is great down there. But if you can have a Craig Porter Jr. just making their lives easier where they don't have to go for these shot blocks and they don't have to navigate between helping and staying with their man, you should do that as much as you can. But I can't just go past the name of Darius Garland, and especially in a negative way, because I watch a lot of NBA content, a lot of NBA players talking about NBA players. So when people get asked who's the toughest player to guard, obviously Kevin Durant is the most common answer because
as it should be,
he's Kevin Durant. But a very, very common answer also is Darius
Garland.
I think Draymond, who we spoke about earlier, said Darius Garland also, with the shiftiness, with being able to score on all three levels. So I want you to go on him first. I also don't remember him being that highly touted out of college. I know it's a pretty high pick, but I don't remember him being quote unquote the man.
Yeah,
so I want you to talk about Darius Garland.
Yeah, he was hurt when he came out, so he basically played 2 college games. When I saw him, I was like, "Yep, perfect point guard for this style of NBA." His first year, I know the numbers didn't really do him justice. He was also on a very bad team, but no, man, Darius Garland I think he's an all-star caliber player, particularly offensively. I think everything he does offensively he does it at a very good level, whether it's shooting, getting to the rim, getting to the line, facilitating, all these little things. Sometimes he is a little turnover prone, which was kind of his whole thing in college. But I feel like the spacing isn't ideal for him sometimes. Right. But I do think defensively there's obviously question marks. I'm not going to sit here and try to look over those as he's not a perfect player. It's funny you bring him up. He's actually, to be very honest, he's my favorite point guard in the NBA right now. I truly love the way he goes about his game and the way he paces and does his own thing. And the whole Garland and Mitchell backcourt, I feel like that's always a topic of discussion is, can these two guys, very much like Allen and Mobley, can they coexist? Answer so far has been, they're pretty fucking good, Kenny. But with both of them together, they have an over 12, around 12.5 net rating positive, which is best in the league, scoring 120 points. Their defense is absolutely it's not shut down, but it's 108 defensive rating, which is very, very elite. And it's crazy because I feel like on paper it's a funky fit. Personally, because Mitchell is also spectacular with the ball in his hands. I just think their ability to play off each other, for somebody who's who they've only played a season worth of games together, because due to the games that they've missed or whatever. Like the fit feels very nice offensively. It doesn't feel like even if it sometimes it does feel like it's your turn, my turn, but they're so good when it's their turn, like, it doesn't fucking matter. You know what I'm saying? Like their ability to operate these high pick and rolls is they're probably two of the best in the game at it, specifically because of the pull-up threat that they have.
Yeah.
And it's just they're truly special, man. What are your thoughts on both of them together? I know you spoke a little bit about Garland, but both of them together.
So it's like you said, even with them being great on the ball, they're so great on the ball, it just doesn't. It's not an issue. And I also think they both shoot well enough to not get in each other's way, despite having Jared Allen and Evan Mobley out there. And so I think I have no notes on them. I have nothing I think they need to fix aside from Darius Garland kind of being better defensively. But his size also it's not like he doesn't compete at all. His size also has a lot to do with that. It's just some stuff he can't really overcome. Yeah, can't really control. But Donovan Mitchell, I'll say, I thought he was very good in Utah. Thought he was one of the best players in the league in Utah. He got to Cleveland and proved he's one of the best players in the world. I got nothing, especially he started defending again. There's nothing I have negative to say about Donovan Mitchell. Because like I said, even when the offense does get stagnant because the spacing is weird on that team, he's still getting to the basket and finishing with three guys down there. Whether it's Max Juice cutting when he probably shouldn't, and then you got Jared Allen. And they do bring Jared Allen to the high post a lot of times and run stuff through him. That's a pretty interesting wrinkle in the offense. But Donovan Mitchell just getting to the basket whenever he feels like it, being able to score efficiently, which that was an issue in his early in his career. Efficiency. Yep. He's been efficient in Cleveland, scoring on all three levels. He's just unguardable. And it's not he's like streaky in a good way that's like rare to where he's good no matter what. But when he gets hot, he's just not missing for the quarter. Like if he hits two in a row, he's hitting everything else until next quarter. If he sits down, if he doesn't sit down, it's the rest of the game. You're just done. And so we saw that with him dropping 71 last year, and it's just like, what are you supposed to do with this? Because he's just constantly getting better. I think he's better this year than he was last year, and that's scary enough.
And his rim pressure, for a team that like lacks spacing, his ability to get to the free throw line for a team that lacks spacing,
and he's
like that's
doing this.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say when he came out, he was listed at 6'3". I was like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, the guy's not 6'3". But it's the spacing has been an issue. It's just ironic, like even like dating back to like when he was in Louisville, spacing was always an issue. Like that was one of the worst spacing teams I've ever seen in my fucking life. In college, it was just two people on the low block and Donovan Mitchell getting a screen from like the other guy, the other big man, and him trying to facilitate work through three people before he got to the cup and still managing shit to work. So this is like a step down in like level. Like this is easier for him to do, but it's just he makes it look so effortless. And like you said, when he is on, he's unguardable. Like even when he's I have one criticism. I have one criticism on Donovan Mitchell, and it's I do think his shot selection at times could be better. It could be better because, and that's a high criticism to have for a player that I'm pretty sure if you asked Donovan Mitchell, yo, you think you can hit that shot after he just missed it? He's like, yeah, I'll take that shit again. I can make it. So it's hard to, it's a fine line, but sometimes I feel like he misses an extra pass or he just misses an open look. I think he is a good passer. I'm not saying that. I think he's a good passer. I just wish he was a better playmaker, like a more consistent playmaker. And his shot selection, like I think it'll just make the team a little better. It'll make him a little better. But I have nothing negative to say about Donovan Mitchell besides that, because he was one of my favorite players coming out, point blank period, that year. He was my third highest ranked player in that draft class. So I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back for that one. He was sensational, and he's been sensational since he came.
Yeah, and so with that said, let's say this team doesn't make any moves because if they do make a move, it's a tough decision to make.
Super.
And so where do you see them going?
Shit, this is very similar. I feel like Man, on paper, if I'm being realistic, I think this team is probably a notch below. I think, personally, I think Boston is in a tier damn near of their own.
Mhm.
Them and Milwaukee are very similar, but I think this team is like the next team up
Yeah.
on paper. I just don't know if that's the case.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't shock me to see this team pull it and make it to the conference finals.
Yeah.
It also wouldn't shock me if they like very much like the Pelicans if they get eliminated in the
Mhm.
first round because some of the concerns when things slow down, and I think last year they got a bad matchup with the Knicks. I think the Knicks were just too physical of a team, but
Yeah.
at a certain point, like the playoffs is physical basketball. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This team is. I'm gonna put a TBD. I'm not even gonna come
Yeah.
up with a like some bullshit to say about them, like a prediction, because it could be completely wrong. It could be completely correct. It's just I don't know where this team is gonna land. My heart tells me they're probably a second round exit, but like they could make it as far as like the conf. I wouldn't even be shocked, to be very very completely honest. I wouldn't be shocked if we're sitting here in June and we're watching Cleveland in the finals.
Yeah.
Because that's how good their talent is. I also wouldn't be shocked if we're watching Cleveland get eliminated in the play-in.
Yeah. And I think I'm in the exact same spot as you because at least for teams making deep playoff runs, you need a few things. Obviously, the defense is number one, and they have that for the most part. Shot making is number two, but that gets a little tricky because it's not necessarily just shot making from the people who are designated to make shots.
Bingo.
Because that all gets schemed against. When you have 6 or 7 games to figure out what to do with Donovan Mitchell, and we've seen him struggle in playoffs for that reason. Well, not struggle with like the scoring numbers, but efficiency. We've seen him struggle. You can take stars away from, not shut them down completely, but slow them down in a sense. And so you end up needing shot making from role players like the Kenny Smith hitting 7 threes, or like the Duncan Robinson going off in whichever playoff game that was last season, or like you need your role players in certain positions to step up and be the star. And sometimes when you're making these deep playoff runs, and I don't know if Cleveland has the role players for that. And so for me personally, if it is a Max Strus, who we saw do it last year in the play-in and be the difference between the Heat being a lottery team and a finals team, like he can do it, but we also know as Heat fans not to bet any money on him doing it. And so it's just, that's what confuses me. It's not, we said kind of in the beginning, this is a top-heavy team. And top-heavy teams don't fare well in deep playoff runs. But we can see because the top of their team is so talented.
Yeah. It just like, I feel like they're like, I hate to say it, like they're like an entry away from just being just about done. Like, especially if it's at that guard room. Like, I don't think they have a replacement for, you know, as much as we talk about Craig Porter should get more minutes, like they don't have another offensive option who can facilitate at the level of these two guys. You know, it is playmaking my committee over there, but the reason that playmaking my committee works is because they have two guys who can play make for everybody else. So it's everybody else's job's a little easier in that sense. It's just, they're an interesting team. They're an interesting build. It's a team full of rumors surrounding them. Whether it's Mitchell, whether it's Allen, whether it's just, should they get somebody else? Should they not? Should they sell out? Should they not? Like it's just, it's a fascinating team. And as it currently stands with them being ninth in the standings, they would be playing, I believe they'd be in like the play-in, but they would probably be playing like the Milwaukee Bucks. Man, it's just, it's a tough team. I don't know who they would beat. I don't know what would be considered an easy matchup for them. So they're just Cleveland. I don't know.
And by the way, real quick, because we're not talking about this team tonight, but I do have to acknowledge, because we just can't not acknowledge it. Did you see Giannis had 64 tonight?
I got the notification on my phone. I have to go back and look at it. I'm pretty sure they played the Pacers, didn't they? Like Giannis has.
He shot 30 plus free throws. That's a bad defensive team out there.
30 free throws?
Yeah, we'll get into them another episode. We just can't But I couldn't end the episode and not acknowledge how many he shot.
Giannis shot as many free throws as the Pacers. He shot 32. They shot 32.
I'm gonna watch that game tomorrow because what the fuck?
Look, I'm a betting man, and I can tell you with full confidence, whenever I see Giannis versus Indiana Pacers, I'm taking his over. No questions asked. It could be at 38.5 points, fucking just points, and I'm like, a little low for me. Go look at his history against the Pacers. I promise you, I'm not even lying. I think he had one bad game, but it's because he fouled out, or he got hurt that game. Like, he kills him.
Thanks for tuning in to episode 6 of Playoff File. I'm Kenny. Social media, I only use Twitter, but you can follow me everywhere anyway. Kenny Spence NBA. Lou, give him yours.
At Saucy Takes, no spaces with a Z at the end of takes, man. Follow me on any. I'm even on TikTok, I guess, but I don't even use it. But hey, man, follow me everywhere. Why not?
Yeah, and if you like the music throughout the show, that's my brother, Devin Spence. His social is BlackGlowMusic on Instagram and TikTok. Go ahead and also stream his EPs on whatever you stream on. Make sure you like, share, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow the show, rate, and comment if you're the audio audience, whether that's Apple or Spotify. And we'll see y'all next time.